Hello and welcome to Nivesh Befikar. This is our investor education initiative jointly by Policy Bazaar and the Money Mile. We bring you the biggest experts in the field of insurance to tell you what new is happening. What are the innovations? What are the disruptions that are happening when you go out there and buy your insurance? Two very special guests joining me today. Anup Seth, who's the Chief Retail Officer at Edelweiss Tokio Life Insurance, and Nilesh Parmar, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Edelweiss Tokio Life Insurance. They've been innovating a lot with Wealth Plus, where you've disrupted the whole charge regime. And before I get to some of your other innovations that you've been doing, both of you, first up, how is Wealth Plus doing? Is it picking up? Is the very low cost, low charge regime really exciting people?
So Vivek, thanks for having us over. Wealth Plus has been a resounding success. It has not only helped us to acquire new consumers, but it's allowed Edelweiss Tokyo Life to take a very leadership stance in bringing great products to the market. The product has been widely recognized, not only in the eyes of consumer because it results into business, but the whole industry at large. This product has won 3 awards on innovation. It's won the Golden Peacock Award and won several accolades at the world, at the India level. And most importantly, I think it got the eyes of the large fraternity of wealth management and CPAs, who now recognizing that in the erstwhile structure, they would always speak about buying term and other alternate instruments like mutual fund, but they're now very clearly talking about that the idea to buy is buy a term and buy a low charge ULIP product like Wealth Plus. It's a much better proposition. I see the world changing at large. I see the task of us building Edelweiss Tokyo Life as a ULIP destination just begun at a great note. We're very buoyant about this opportunity and we're taking all steps to be able to continue this focus on building Edelweiss Tokyo Life as a destination for buying great ULIP products.
And in fact, it's important to inform consumers, we keep doing it, that these are only available online, right? And is that something that is a big change you're seeing, that people are actually going online and consuming? Because if this product is doing well, it means also online is doing well.
Yes.
The two are connected, right?
Absolutely. You're right, Vivek. I think thanks to the entire boom of data available to the entire country and e-commerce propositions across the board moving up, it's moved the consumer confidence on buying online. And I've seen for a fact, I've been on internet for now 17, 18 years. Whenever you offer consumers a +1 experience, which is a delta force from what they get offline, they migrate online. The internet consumers are extremely conscious, they're aware, and if they know the proposition is greater for them online, they will move online. The big factor, Vivek, that has allowed us to make charge structures so effective is the online platform itself. It allows you to get away from the offline cost of distribution, which prevent you from becoming from great products to our consumers. The online offers a great proposition from our point to reduce charge structures, to make compelling proposition to customer, and with partnerships like with players like Policy Bazaar, which is an integral partner with us on creating this journey. It's truly allowing us to be pushing the envelope and creating more and more compelling propositions around that. It's allowing us to not only optimize on the product structure, but also look at how effective cost of servicing these consumers, yet giving the power in the customer's hand, can be done. And as we move ahead, we'll speak on some of the innovation that we've done on those things. So the online has given us the platform, and with partnership with Policy Bazaar, has allowed us to make products and proposition much stronger.
Nilesh, going forward, do you see charges coming down further? I mean, I'm not asking you for specifics here because I'm sure you are all thinking of newer products, newer add-ons. But is this a trend that has started and could go further down, the charges, or do you see them stable at this point?
So actually, if you look at the history of online, we have seen a lot of instances where if a company has tried to do something innovative, others have tried to copy it. So in that sense, maybe we will have Me Too products where charges will be reduced. But beyond a point, I think as it is, ULIP is a no margin product, and how much you can take it down will depend on how the company is able to structure. We believe that we have the advantage of, being able to generate higher investment returns based on, the whole Edelweiss legacy that we have, which is our strength. And we can factor that into whatever product proposition that we bring in. If somebody else can replicate that, then maybe there is more opportunity. But beyond a point, I think, it will stabilize at some point.
Anup, it's worth reiterating because we are fighting such a legacy, right, of ULIPs having been, as Yashish has said in a statement, the bad boys, right, who are turning good now. So it's maybe worth if you could quickly, give us a certain synopsis of what the new age of 4G ULIP is.
So, Vivek, I think in this term I've heard it way too much. We clearly weren't the best proposition, but as the journey has evolved over the first gen to the fourth gen, the proposition has now been of a very different order. The reality is that the erstwhile structures allowed you to make charges on 4 different heads, which was allocation charge, policy admin charge, mortality charge, and FMC charge.
Which is the fund management.
The fund management charge. The Wealth Plus product has no allocation charge across the entire term, no policy admin charge across the entire term. The only charge is the mortality charge, which we all know, being a type 1 ULIP, essentially the charges will last to the extent that the fund value is lower than the sum assured.
Okay.
Even if you take an average 7-8% return, 8% is what we give another 4 and 8% as a mandatory BI. By the 7th year, you will stop deducting any mortality charge, and any will taper down from the first year down to the 7th year. In this product of Wealth Plus, what we've done is we've added units to you every year. And by the virtue of doing that, by the 5th year, the units that we've added from the 1st to 5th year take care of all the mortality charge that we've deducted by the 7th year. By that, post that we're adding units to you from the 6th to the 20th year, from moving from every 5 years. So technically in this entire product, the only charge is the 1.35% FMC. Now, if you look at from that perspective, there will be no proposition that the market would offer which will allow you to get your money invested at 1.35% with the quality of fund management that Edelweiss Tokio Life brings in. The reality is there are no products that we've seen in the market in the last 6 months of Wealth Plus being live which are able to meet even this proposition to the extent. And like my friend Nilesh said, that if the market innovates, we are in the interest that the consumer will get more compelling proposition. We will stay ahead of the curve. But as we've already sort of led the race a little ahead, I think there's less room for others to be able to create compelling proposition.
But you're saying that there is already some more innovation going on.
Yes,
and we could see some of that coming ahead.
We will.
Okay. You've launched this Insta issuance. Nilesh, what is this all about?
So, traditionally, if you look at how a life insurance policy gets issued, the customer fills up the form, pays the money, and then it goes to a typical underwriting process. And the whole process, takes anywhere from 2 to 5 days before the policy can get issued. Now, especially in today's day and age when, there is a lot of comparison between ULIPs and mutual funds that is being done. The first question that arises is, in mutual funds, when you invest, straight away allocation of units happens to you based on whatever NAV is applicable for that day, and your investment starts earning right from day one. And the whole idea, therefore, what we wanted to do was try and replicate the same behavior for the customer to be able to utilize whatever investment he is making into this ULIP product from day one. And, it has been a journey for us. If you really look at it, it's not as if, we came up with this idea on the first day itself. Multiple ways have been, looked at to try and make it more convenient for the customer. The first thing that we did was we made the entire form filling process much simpler. From the traditional 7-8 page form filling that used to happen earlier, we have reduced it by more than 50%. For the first time, we have actually got a dynamic form, which means that depending on how you are answering particular questions, some questions will get answered or not, which has never been done by anybody in the industry till now. and that makes it much more convenient for the customer. The clutter that exists on the form goes away. After that, what we did is, we looked at how the decision making is being done to approve a particular policy, and we created rules around it. We simplified the rules so that we can implement it on the front end without losing too much time. And what we've been able to then therefore now do is, as soon as you fill the form, when you submit the form, the rule engine looks at the data that has been given, and based on that gives you a decision almost instantly. So it will happen in a few seconds whether the policy is going to get issued or not.
Okay.
Now, if along with this you have done eKYC, for example, then the policy is done. You don't need to do anything. But if you have not done eKYC, then obviously at the back end we'll need to verify that the KYC documents that have been submitted by you, they are accurate and they match whatever information has been provided on the form. But in a typical scenario where eKYC is being done and everything is matching the information, whatever form filling you have done, the NAV applicable for that day will get applied in the evening, and the policy is getting issued overnight.
Are there any medical tests, etc. required? Because supposing I'm taking a 10 lakh premium with say 1 crore sum assured, is that part of in a ULIP as well?
So just to answer that and add to what Nilesh has said, basically the whole idea was to be able to get instant investment of the customer money and not keep it idle with us in the entire process. And hence in this process we are able to invest the money and put it to work on almost immediate basis. Plus the big fact on your point is now we have underwriting rule engines built in, which based on profile, age and income will trigger medicals only for a certain set of customers.
Okay.
Where there is a need for underwriting to happen, which in this case now almost out of 100 proposals, only 10, 15 of proposals go through additional evaluation, which either would be more documentation.
Age related or what?
Age, sum assured, and maybe some declaration on the form, which will trigger needs. 80 to 85% customers will almost on instant basis get the policy accepted and be able to get the money invested in the same.
What about on the redemption side? Because since you said you're trying to pick up the best practices, if I may say so, of say the mutual fund industry and try and replicate it here. There again, over a period of time, we've seen redemption being only hastened. And it's much faster now. Since you have, of course, funds which are a mix of both debt and equity in the same fund, how quickly are you able to redeem? And are there any possibilities of that period coming down?
So, as we all know, ULIP has a 5-year cap.
Sure. So I'm talking post lock-in.
So there are two factors to that. One is the switching ability, which is when you're in the invested period, can you switch from a large cap to a mid cap to a debt? Those things are now available on our front end. The consumer at his own convenience can make unlimited switches on the front end. It's at level 1 on the front end. We are in the process of innovating the entire front end to be able to make it as seamless as booking an Uber or booking an Ola online. We're making the shift there on. That front end will go live hopefully by the end of June, and that will take the experience to a different level. On redemptions, we will be at a point in time, if not today, maybe a few months from now, be as convenient redemptions as the case in mutual funds is. And that's where the entire innovation has been thought through at our end. Let me just give you a little background, Vivek. We are now of a full realization in our office that the consumer's expectation sets for an online customer is very different from that of offline. We're now realizing that the consumer expectation is that just the way I'm able to shop at Amazon or a Flipkart or book an Uber or an Ola, can I do that much amount of ease of doing things? So we reimagine the entire back-end organization to be able to make it as seamless for every journey that the consumer takes with us. And almost the pledge is internally that if it cannot be done by the person with the least understanding of internet usage, and if we can't bring 100 processes online because he's chosen to come online, we want his entire life cycle to be serviced online. That's the realization in our office. We're now moving the entire processes so seamless in the front end that redemption, switches, your fund statements, your request on a nominee change, anything is going to be a click of a button. We're now innovating to that extent that we want to make sure that not only a product remains a 4G, but our experience also remains a 4G. And if there is 5G in the market, we will make sure it is built out.
Okay. So on the switching bit, Nilesh, just one point which, Anup mentioned that it's now free and unlimited. Is that the right way to look at it? It's free every time you do it and it's unlimited. You can do any number of times.
Absolutely.
There used to be a cap earlier, right? You could do 3 or 5 or something.
Yeah, so that is not there, and basically it is based on the customer's risk profile, I guess, or how he sees what is happening in the market. If he decides to do something, we'll just support it from the back end.
And while the customer can do it herself or himself, but you also have the option where you can do the switching on behalf of the customer. That's some default kind of an option that you take.
So there are, in all our products, we do have some standard, mechanisms which we provide as functionalities, which can make this possible.
Sure.
But again, it is, I think, up to the customer to select it upfront or at any point in the product life cycle to say that I want to go for this option where automatic switches can happen. And if that is built in the product, then we'll be able to do it.
Sure. Anup, I want to talk a little about the rising star, feature that you have, because I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm seeing increasingly people, especially the younger couples, getting a lot interested about investing as soon as they have a child.
Yes.
I think that's become like one of the biggest triggers for people to start investing.
Yes.
At least all the queries we get here on the Money Mile indicate that, no sooner has a couple had a child that they started getting interested about wanting to know. How does that work, and what is the benefit that brings to the table?
So you're right. Child remains to be the biggest event for trigger for buying child plan.
Yeah.
And that's happened in the case with me also. The Rising Star benefit is a child plan benefit in our product, which is
In the
an
Wealth
option.
Plus
In the Wealth Plus, it's an option the customer has to opt.
It's a rider or an option?
It's an option.
Okay.
The customer has to opt. The way the Rising Star is again distinctively better place in the market normal child plans are. In a normal child plan, I don't want to name companies, but the way it triggers is if I bought a 20-year term and if something happens to the life assured in, let's say, in the 5th year, your future premiums are waived. And the way it is waived is the 6th premium gets put by the company on the policy 6th anniversary, the 7th on the 7th anniversary, the 8th on the 8th, and that's as follows till 20th year. The Rising Star uniquely does a very different thing. It, on the death of the life assured, it invests all future premiums at the same time.
Okay.
Which means your money, in the same example, gets invested for 15 more years and starts generating your return for all the 15 lakh rupees invested in the 6th year till the policy term.
Okay.
And hence the chances of being able to meet the goals and get higher fund value is much higher in the Rising Star benefit.
Okay.
And today, almost 1/4 of our business on the Wealth Plus are customers which are opting for Rising Star benefit.
So when you say they're opting for it, is there an extra charge you have to pay?
Yes, there is a mortality charge which increases because it has.
By how much?
It depends again on the age of both the life assured and the proposer.
Okay.
But just if I to take in a simplistic example for without a Rising Star example, your mortality cost will typically range between a 0.5 to a 0.6 to 0.7 depending on your age.
Okay. If you take the option.
No, this is without Rising Star.
Without the option.
With the Rising Star, it will be depending on ages of both.
Right.
Will be can be upwards to 1% or more. Okay. But it depends on multiple combinations, so it's not easy to put a number there.
Sure.
But that's how it operates.
Sure. From the point of view of asset allocation, most financial planners that I'm speaking to are now saying that one of the best features of a ULIP especially now with the low charge structure coming in, is that it allows you a cost-free, tax-free ability to do your asset allocation. Is that the way you want to educate customers as well, in terms of being able to pitch your product as something which allows effective asset allocation, moving from debt to equity or equity to debt?
So I think, you hit the nail on the head, hammer on the head. At the end of the day, especially after the recent tax law changes, there is a big advantage that the ULIPs will present when compared to mutual funds. And we have seen a lot of inquiry from traditional mutual fund investors to try and switch over, or at least explore the ULIP option, which earlier they would not have looked at. The other thing also is that whilst on one hand mutual fund provides the liquidity because you can do redemption virtually on call, whereas here there is a holding period of 5 years. The ability to be able to switch without charges unlimited number of times counters that lack of flexibility in my view.
Yeah.
And based on this, I think if I am an aware customer who is watching what is happening in the market, and based on that taking decisions on asset allocation, a lot of us are actually passive investors. We invest, we select a particular allocation, and then we forget about it. For them, things will be the same. But those of us who are active, who are involved, who know what is going on, and who know at what point which asset category to invest in, I think ULIP presents the best way to manage the allocation without any additional cost.
Anup, we talked about onboarding, the ease of being able to get a policy quickly. We talked about redemption. Once you've stayed with the policy for 5 years, is there an exit load as well? Or because we read a lot about GST now on exit loads for mutual funds. So how does that work?
No, there is no exit load.
There's no
of any
exit load
type.
at all.
After 5 years, you are completely free to withdraw your entire investment. There will be no charge whatsoever. And however, my advice to customers is let your investments, specifically in Wealth Plus, the longer you stay, the increasing allocation from our side will make it more sweeter for you. If you stay longer, you will take the factor of compounding. You will also be able to meet your financial goals. So my only advice to customers is, while there will be a lot of people advising in the market to withdraw your ULIPs after 5 years, the only reason you should withdraw is if you have a next best option, which gives you an opportunity to make the required return for your goals at a lesser cost. Because the more the costs get deducted, the more is money taken away from getting invested into markets and the money getting returns for you. In a Wealth Plus kind of scenario, with the 6th year to 10th year, we give 3 additional allocation for every 100 invested by you. I know for a fact there are no investments today in the market which will be as compelling as the Wealth Plus. So I'd earnestly request consumers to not to exercise the option. Only if you have managed to meet your goals or you have some exigencies, withdraw, even if you have the ability to withdraw partially. You can stay the balance money, because there isn't any option to give you tax-free money at that rate of investment in the market.
In fact, that's interesting, because normally in the past, again, that was the problem, isn't it? That people thought that 5 years, rather than realizing it's just a minimum period. Yeah. Almost everybody thought that, 5 years is over, I need to go. And then you didn't see the returns in that 5-year period. Yes. And then you felt that, you were let down or you were cheated. Do you believe that selection of the funds within those funds that you do, one, of course, the power of compounding that he talked of, but more importantly, he talked about the mortality charge being returned. But if you've stayed, say, 10, 15 years, are there loyalty benefits over and above that also which kick in, or the mortality charge return is the key kicker and that's it?
So I think the fact that we are adding units to the fund value that the customer has with us over time is itself loyalty, right? So if you stop paying your premiums, then that addition is going away. So in a sense, that is what the loyalty benefit in the product is. and the longer you stay, the longer the benefit, the higher the benefit that you will get out of it. And which is what will then, as Anup was saying, improve the return on the investment that you are going to be able to generate from what you have originally invested in terms of the premium amounts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, both of you, for coming by. I look forward to many more innovations from you and to be able to talk about them here on the Money Mile. The whole idea of Nivesh Kar Befikar is to bring you up to speed with all that is happening in the world of insurance. Lots of innovations going on there, lots of changes, lots of legacy being left behind, and new age products being introduced across the spectrum. We've today talked about 4G ULIPs. There's a lot happening on the term insurance side as well, health insurance side as well, and this is the place where you can come to know all that is going on there. Thank you very much once again, both of you, and thank you for watching this interview.